Welcome back to the Business Owner Spotlight. This is Stephanie Scheller, your host for these spotlights, getting the chance for business owners out there to showcase themselves, showcase who they are, what they've learned, what has made them special. Because let's be honest, most of us don't get the chance to do that unless you're going to go run a $100 million company and sell it, on an IPO or something like that. Today, I'm actually really excited. I feel like I've got like a local celebrity on the phone with me. We're having some technical difficulties, so Zach's going to join me over the phone here. But Zach is the founder of Zedrix, and so we'll just kind of take it from there. Zach, welcome to the call.
Thanks for having me.
So what is your story in business? How did you get to where how did you get to where you're kind of a name brand in the fit food industry here in San Antonio?
That's a good question. So, basically just started, had a real passion for cooking, kind of went off to culinary school at the CIA in Hyde Park, New York. And when I got back, I'd gained quite a bit of weight. So I started doing some CrossFit with my buddy Jeremy Tucker at Elite CrossFit and started eating healthier and just kind of saw that there was a need for it because a lot of my friends in class and stuff were really interested in the fact that I was a chef and that I could make, healthy food. So started cooking on the weekends, full time at work, Monday through Friday, cooking for corporate dining companies. So I just started growing this thing out of my house and cooking for just close friends. And before you knew it, it was like either stop doing this completely or turn it into something. And I decided to go ahead and make this into a legit business. And that's pretty much that's the summary of how it all kind of started.
Wow, it's such an awesome story. There's so many people who hope and dream that will happen to them, but then, never end up being able to make the leap from part-time to full-time, or they make the leap to full-time and can't sustain it. So what do you think it was that made your business able to both make the leap and then sustain it? Was it, what was it?
Oh, hard times. You have to go. I don't know. It's tough to explain. To me, the biggest thing is that when you first start a business, you have dreams about how things are going to go, and then you start to realize that things don't always go the way you expect them to. So it's just really, really important to keep encouraging yourself to get through all that and keep, pushing and going. Because honestly, I think that's where most people give up is they don't realize that you're going to go through not making any money. You're going to go through, just struggling and having to call people and say, I'm not going to be able to make this bill on time. I'm not going to be able to do this. That's the reality of a small business owner, but it's knowing that you can get through it and persevering and just learning from your mistakes, right?
Yeah. So how did you, what carried you through that? Did you have a dream that you wanted to, have multiple locations? Because you do have multiple locations, right?
I have two right now, looking at a third, hopefully by quarter one of next year.
Yeah.
I was a chef first, so going into this thing, I knew how to run a kitchen. I understood front of the house. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have a great understanding of owning a business and what it took. The E-Myth Revisited, that kind of stuff. That book was a great eye opener for me because you have a very limited budget to work with. You're already working 18 to 20-hour days, and then you hire somebody and they take a little bit of stress off you, and then before you know it, they're gone because you've overworked them, and it's just that constant struggle of learning how to actually make this happen. And I think that really it was me. It was 4 years before I really learned what the heck to do, and it was basically replacing my position as a chef and making me the president of Zedrix and really, looking at the business as a whole versus just going in and doing the day-to-day operations, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That was really the biggest moment that changed everything.
That's awesome. And that's huge because you're right. So many people never make that movement. And you're talking the E-Myth. That's one of my favorite books. But so many people never make that shift from technician to owner, basically. And that's huge. That's super cool.
Yeah, I think that was really, you know, that was the defining moment of really, you know, looking at this whole thing as a big picture. I mean, and then, you know, getting to true store number 2. I mean, I had another store that didn't make it, that I, you know, had to get out, broke the lease and got out of. And then I got this one at the quarry when that opportunity came. And having this, I call it the true store number 2, because it's actually doing what I needed to do.
Nice.
It's another whole set of problems that you run into at that point. My buddy always explains it to going from one kid to 2 kids is tough, and then having 3 or 4 is easy. You know, it's like getting around that second child is a tough part. You know, but that's kind of, you know, where we're at right now. Is we're about 4 months into location number 2, and it's definitely a change of pace from what I was doing before, you know.
That's hilarious. I'm laughing because I'm child number 2, so that just tells me so much about what my parents went through with me right there. What are some of the biggest, because, you know, the purpose of these interviews is to give the people listening the chance to learn from what you've already learned. So what were some of the things you're doing differently, if you don't mind sharing those with location number 2, that are making a big difference?
Talent, finding good people to run your operation, and trusting them, but also still making sure that you're checking in with them on, you know, daily, weekly basis, whatever you feel is needed. I think that's a huge thing. Just keeping a pulse of everything, you know. Like, I mean, obviously when you get into a successful location or 2, you're really trying to. There's so many moving parts, from marketing to accounting to hiring, and to making sure that your team has the same vision and goals as you have. You know, I mean, it's just, there's so many things you're having to focus on. You can't do it all without, you know, the good leadership at each of your stores to handle a lot of these other, you know, the daily issues.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I think you made it a huge point. And, you know, I talk about this with a lot of my clients. Hiring is one of the hardest parts for a small business owner. How do you find the right team? What do you do? Because I know everyone's got their own theories on this one.
You know, that's a tough question, because I still haven't exactly figured it out. I mean, I've got great talent, but I think that it all, you want to be able to focus on paying people their market value, you know, whatever the market value is for the position. I think that a lot of small business owners sometimes are afraid to take that risk or chance too. Like, I mean, it's a huge move to pay some big salaries, but you need to be willing to do that to be able to grow. I mean, if you're, you got to pay people what they're worth. And I think that's really a valuable lesson to learn early on. And that keeps, you know, that's how you find the right talent too, in my opinion, or it helps you find it. I can't guarantee that one person who's making $50,000 a year and the other person who's making 50 are going to be equal, you know, in talent or experience and all that stuff. And if they're going to they're going to be able to work as hard as the other one. But at the end of the day, you know, if that's kind of your price range you're looking for, you kind of know what to expect. You can kind of start shopping to see what's out there as far as talent goes.
Yeah. Well, I agree. And I see a lot of people, you commented on it, and I think it's something you got from the E-Myth, or maybe you just learned this one on your own, but the whole hiring someone, way overworking them, way underpaying them. And then you start blowing through people. And once you set that precedent, it's really hard to break it, because now, you know, it just creates a whole host of issues.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably going to be overstaffed at that point with hourly, you know, associates, and then you're going to, you know, not be able to hire the you know, management level employees you really need who can, use less hourly associates to get the job done, right?
Right.
I mean, especially in this business, I mean, there's, a lot of moving parts.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of in a restaurant.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, honestly, I've so much respect for you because that is the one industry that I look at and I'm like, no, I would not get into that industry.
It's fun.
It's tough. It is I mean, I waited tables. I only got to see basically front of house. I never got to see the business side of it, but I've worked with a couple of restaurants. It's not like I haven't, but that is definitely an industry I have a huge amount of respect for people who are able to make it work because that is a tough industry.
It's definitely tough. Yeah. I mean, profit margins are, very small.
Yeah.
Usually it's 10%. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's definitely a tough industry. You've got to know your numbers and be on top of all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, and you got to have the bulk, I was thinking bulk, but the amount of, what is it? The word that won't come out of my mouth. Quantity of clients. So you have to have a certain, like, at some point you can't just charge $200 for a burger. You gotta sell 200 burgers.
Yeah, volume needs to be there.
Yes, that's the word I could not get to come out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, volume needs to be there. And I mean, the cool thing about our business too is that, our clients typically eat our food, 5 days a week, every meal, which is really, really awesome. I mean,
wow.
A lot about, the quality of food we're producing and then, obviously we have enough variety to keep people happy. And I mean, we've had a lot of the same customers for 6 years, as long as we've been in business. So,
right.
I mean, it's, but I mean, it's cool too, because you see people, staying healthy and losing weight or, whatever goals they're really setting for themselves. If they're serious about it, we can help them, I mean, diet's like 70 or 80% of everything. I mean,
yeah,
you can't exercise a bad diet.
Yeah, this is true. I forgot so many questions. Like every time you talk, I think of more and more questions here. I got to really watch the time because we're going to be here for an hour if I don't. So how did you, I'm super curious, this transition you made. I love the transition of going from part-time to full-time in a business. And I know it's not your complete story, but I know a lot of people who love that idea, who want that idea. How did you handle when you went from part-time to full-time? And then at some point, I'm sure you had to raise your rates in order to cover having to hire help. How did you handle that with your clients? Because that's something people are really scared about.
Raising rates? Okay. So that's kind of a tough question because basically what I had already kind of had all the costs and stuff in mind whenever I was still cooking out of my house. Mm-hmm. So I really, kind of kept things the same almost, but like, I guess it's just, I don't think you need to be afraid of raising your rates. I think that honestly, if you do quality work, you're responsive, you give great customer service, if it's a customer facing business, or even if it's a business, if you're responsive, I mean, people will, including myself, will pay for a great product or a great experience. I mean, I think that really that's what it comes down to. And for us, I know that like our cap is $15 for a meal. We cannot charge over that or else people won't buy our product. And we have very few meals that get into that price range. It's just that if the cost is there, I mean, some plates I should be charging $18 or $19 for example, it'd be like a steak dish, but I won't go over the $15 mark unless if it's a large, because I know I'm going to be pushing my customers away, which is not what I want to do. But I mean, I've always felt that if you've got a great quality product, then I mean, don't be afraid to charge for it, but also, think about it from the customer's point of view.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to do that or pay for that? And I mean, and be realistic. I mean, you can't just, you don't want to just think about something and do it. You need to make sure that it's really something that you'd be willing to pay for,
Yeah.
Is that?
Yes. And I love that. I mean, like, I tell this to people all the time and they don't, they, after you say it so many times, people don't listen very well. So I love the fact that you just totally backed me up, us not even knowing each other. Just totally backed me up there on everything. But I totally agree. And I mean, there are people that are way overpriced, right? They sit there and they're like, well, I'm definitely worth X, Y, Z. And I'm like, well, why? And they're like, well, and they just start getting all blustery and defensive, and they don't know why they're charging what they're charging. But if your product's good, if your service is good, everyone who's worth dealing with will totally pay it. That's how I always phrase it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's definitely such thing as bad customers out there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They still help pay the bills. So, I mean, no matter what, you got to deal with them sometimes as well. But
this is true. This is true. I could totally go on another tangent there, but I'm looking at the time and I want to start wrapping this one up because I know I want our listeners to be able to, check these out on their lunch breaks here. So what is your best piece of advice for other business owners out there who are in the midst of growing their business and need some help?
I've got a couple of things. First thing, always borrow more money than you think you need when you're starting out. Second thing, don't ever quit. If you're the type of person who's going to quit, don't ever go into business for yourself. I mean, not to be negative, but it's the truth. Don't waste your money or your time if you're not willing to go the distance and be willing to go without paying for a while and to be able to really build your dream. I mean, and also don't be afraid to pay other people more than yourself in the beginning. I mean, I think that's another huge, thing you got to look at. The sooner you're willing to do that and realize that it's going to be best for the business, then, your money will come. It's just a matter of time. I just think it's best to really, think about those things. I mean, I don't want everything to sound negative, but at the end of the day, this is the greatest thing you will ever do if you can get yourself through, the first couple of months, first couple of years, however long it takes you. I mean, for me, it took about 4 to 5 years before I really felt like things were starting to go my way. And I mean, that's a long time to put yourself through that,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sitting here like, I remember at one point looking at, payroll and, realizing like I'm paying out more money every month on my payroll, I'm paying almost everyone on my staff more than I make. And sitting here and going, whoa. Like I had this moment where I had to sit here and be like, what am I doing? And then I was like, I'm building a business. And you know what? The reward comes down the road. And I just remember sitting there and it was a turning point for me in my business too. So I wish someone had summed that up for me sooner because I did not get it until I had to look at payroll one day. So.
No, it's true. It's tough, but it's worth it. I mean, it's worth it. I mean, I guess people who are listening to this are serious about it. So, I mean, just make sure you're really serious about it because, like I said, it's the greatest thing, but it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. And I'd rather try and fail than not try at all,
That's awesome. I think that is a phenomenal note to end on. For our listeners out there, go back, listen to this one twice, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. I feel like my notes started going up the side of the page here. I got a full page and then went up the side. I feel like this is one of those ones that's just chock full of golden nuggets. Every time you listen, I think you'll get something new. So I'm going to challenge our listeners out there to go out there. And if you're a business owner right now, or if you want to be a business owner, you just got a great piece of advice to figure out whether or not you should pursue this idea. Are you the quitter? Are you the person who's going to give up? Because if you are, then keep your day job. But if you're not, he's totally right. It is the best thing in the world, but don't give up. And that, I think, just means so much more coming from someone who's right in the midst of it than coming from, as I keep saying on these videos, the Mark Cuban who looks at his bank account with, 9 zeros on it and goes, oh, rough day, right? So, Zach, thank you for joining me for these interviews.
Yeah, no problem.
For our listeners out there, go out there, make it a great week. Hey, if you have the chance to drop by, drop by Zedric's, grab yourself some good food, and I will look forward to seeing you guys on our next Business Owner Spotlight.